What's going on, people? We're back with Lost Season 3, Episode 2, The Glass Ballerina. Like I said, we're still pretty much in the setup point of the season, so we're going to take this nice and brief. We're coming back with weapons right after this, and that's going to kind of be our big jam-packed, event-filled episode of the weekend. But for now, like I said, pretty much just continuing off of last week. We're incorporating in more of the storylines that we left off with last season. This time, we're bringing back Sayid, Jin, and Sun, and them on the boat and kind of their quest to find Jack and the others. Except by this point, Sayid's already figured out. He's like, look, they haven't showed up yet. They've definitely been captured. Something bad has happened. So naturally, what does that lead to? Of course, more domestic issues with Jin and Sun. I'm like, oh, we're still doing this. Awesome. Great. Jin's still being an asshole, overprotective husband. And it's like, you get why, because it's like, oh, Sun's pregnant. So like there's more of an added reason for that. But also at the same time, it's like, dude, we've been through this like a couple times now. This is getting old. Can we please start to move past this, you know? And that's more and more because like I said, season 3 was the season where I like basically locked in and binged the rest of the show. So like there's not as much that I remember from this point going forward, because this is the stuff that like I only watched once. And this is the stuff that I was like trying to get past, because I'm like, oh, this is kind of getting repetitive. Like, what are we doing here? But there are still some good moments in this episode for sure. The Sun and Jin flashbacks at this point. Like I said, the flashbacks, I would not say are necessarily adding anything new to the characters here, but there are still some interesting stuff, namely the biggest thing being that Sun's dad famously caught her cheating, and this all ties in with the opening scene of the episode, which is where Sun, as a little girl, in order to avoid the responsibility of breaking a prized glass ballerina, hence the title of the episode, shifted the blame onto the maid, forcing her dad to fire the maid. But there's this interesting little moment where he's like, listen, he's like, if you don't cop forward to this, then I'll be forced to fire the maid. Are you willing to basically sacrifice someone else for yourself, essentially, you know, kind of setting us up for ultimately the act that Sun will unintentionally commit in terms of, you know, the next stage in the war with the others. So what did you think of the glass ballerina?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a crux of the show, because we have so many characters. Like I'm thinking about, like I'm thinking of different shows, like how many characters are there. But this one is like it's like Game of Thrones, but they're all on one island. Game of Thrones, at least, like there's like 7 different plots happening at once, so it feels like cohesive. Here, it's like some characters do end up being one note because you have so many and you can't develop them all to the same level. Like, you know, you take Jack and Sawyer, Kate, like they're like Locke as well. They're fairly developed, and then, you know, like Michael became one note towards the end of 2, and Jin and Sun, as you said, they're kind of running in circles of this domestic disputes. Jin being overprotective, and yeah, and as you said, the flashbacks are kind of okay. We kind of knew this, and now we're seeing it again. So it's kind of okay. Can we just get to the island and progress that? And even on the island, it's a bit kind of stalling until we recap everything that all the fallout of the last season. Like, we still haven't seen what happened to Locke and those. We'll get that in the next episode, obviously, but it's still like easing us in, I guess. But we do get the big catalyst towards the end that will presumably kick off the big conflict of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference between the opening couple of episodes of season 2 versus this season is that season 2 introduced the hatch, like the inside of the hatch, like this whole new device that we had not seen. Like, we had the buildup of the outside of the hatch in season 1, but because we never saw the inside of it, we had no clue what to expect. And that introduced this whole new element that was able to like carry us through some of those filler setup episodes. And then you had this whole new cast of characters that came in. Here, it's like, okay, we had the big reveal of the others last week, but now this time it's like, oh, okay, so we're building up towards a war. Okay. But like, I don't know. I feel like we're not necessarily getting anything new, because I feel like rather than like focus on some of the new characters, like if this were like season 2, we would be spending all of our time with the others and entirely from their perspective rather than our set of characters, you know, because that I feel like would be so much more interesting and add this whole new different perspective onto the island, because we've been spending so much time with our main group of survivors that it would be interesting to see this other perspective from this group that's been living here for so long. And you know, like Ben tells Jack at the end of this episode, when he finally tells him his real name, he's like, yeah, I've lived my entire life on this island. Wouldn't that be so interesting to see what living their entire life on this island would be like.
He says one more thing, and I think he says it both to Jack and the audience. Patience, Jack. Patience. So
Yeah. Well, that's ultimately the issue here is rather than do that, which I think would be much more interesting, we instead do this thing of where it's like, oh, we're just going to once again keep it from the perspective of our characters. We're going to keep everything shrouded in mystery until the absolute last possible minute. And when we do answer it, we're going to give you in these vague, like annoying half answers. And that it's a trope that, again, it made Lost very successful at the time that it was on. But this is the point where I'm like, okay, we're kind of getting sick of it. Can we get the ball rolling here, please? And then meanwhile, of course, we have Sawyer and Kate are once again literally just tasked with bullshit tasks. It's like, hey, you guys are gonna break up rocks, and if you talk, there's gonna be trouble. And so naturally, because it's Sawyer, it's like
yes, boss.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah, naturally, because it's Sawyer, of course, he's gonna start kicking up shit and causing issues. It's like, gee, who could have possibly seen that one coming? And then it just leads to a point where he goes and makes out with Kate, and then Uncle Jack from Breaking Bad comes up and shocks him. And I'm like, damn.
That's Uncle Jack from the last season.
Yes, from the last season
episode.
Yes,
yeah,
Michael Bowen. And then Tom also. We don't get any more fun moments with Sawyer and him, but we do get a brief moment of interaction between Kate and Alex, where Alex asks Kate, he's like, "Hey, the kid that was in the cage with Sawyer, do you know where he is?" And Kate's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And it's like, wow, really? We're throwing in domestic teen drama onto this island too, as if we didn't have enough of that already to begin with. Great. You're starting to understand why I'm not the biggest fan of season 3.
Yeah, and I'm watching this. I'm like, okay. I'm trusting the writing team that this will go somewhere. It might just take a little while to get there. So
don't get me wrong, the payoff for season 3 is worth it for sure. But the first couple episodes of season 3 are rough. I was like, oh man, this is even worse than I remember.
Yeah, I guess you always have in many great works you have those moments of like, okay, we have to like establish certain things, and in this case they have to get it to 24 episodes. Like they could definitely probably squish this in, even this part into one episode.
I would say these first like 4 or 5 episodes they could have easily squeezed into one episode, if I'm being honest. But like I said, there are still some good revelations to be had. The biggest payoff, obviously, is the fact of, when the others discover that, because famously, obviously, the others knew that they were going to find the fake village and knew that they were going to find it empty. But then Paula Malcolmson, famously, Katniss's mom from the Hunger Games movies and also famously portrayed Trixie in Deadwood, comes in and she's like, after this one other brief moment with Juliet and Ben, once again continuing their little ire that they have with each other, and they're like, Ben's like, "Oh, you never brought me grilled cheese." I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like they're just really rubbing salt and lemon juice in the wound there. But Paula Malcolmson comes in. I don't remember her name because she's fun fact, she's only in this one episode. But she comes in and he's like, "Yeah, they have a boat," and he's like, "How?" Because of course the others famously were not accounting for Desmond, because by the time Desmond came back in, it was too late. They had already set their plan in motion, so it was too late for Michael to warn them about it. So they're like, okay, we need that boat, presumably because they gave up their only boat for Michael and Walt to leave. So that kind of worked out in their favor. And I'm like, that's weird. That you would have thought that, you would have thought about that they would have known about that. But that also means that they just didn't know that Desmond was was inside the hatch that whole time, which is a little interesting. But so they send Paula Malcolmson and a squad of others to get the boat. Sayid is setting up the beach for an ambush. He's like, look, I know they've been captured. We're going to set up here. We're going to wait for them to come in. I'm going to ambush them. I'm going to capture 2 of them, and I'm going to kill the rest. And Sun's like, and Sun, of course, is full of questions. It's like, how are you going to, he's like, why 2? And he's like, one to make the other one talk.
Like you're one guy, like Sayid, like I know you were in the army, but there's like a lot of them. What do you expect to do?
Never underestimate Sayid. I mean, obviously the others also do have some element as well of how skilled he is. There's a reason why they didn't want him with the group that they were going to capture. There's a reason why they were basically hoping that he would go on a wild goose chase. Like they know what Sayid's capable of skills wise. They also obviously know about what he did to Ben when he was being held captive. So I'm like, yeah, they know what they're doing there.
Yeah, but then even Sawyer says that, okay, these guys haven't really seen action. Like I could probably take them. So
right,
it's like slipping through the cracks that, okay, these guys aren't like superhuman. Like there's a lot of them. Like they know the island clearly, but they're just people at this point. So
the advantage comes from the fact that they know the island better than our group of survivors. But now that we've actually like spent time with them, it's like, oh, okay. So they definitely do not necessarily have as much of the fighting advantage as we initially thought. Like our survivors could definitely take them for sure. So that, of course, leads to Jin being pissed off because he realizes that they've been lying to him. But then, of course, he requests a gun from Sayid because he's like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to, well, you know, we're going to do this right, because he shows he does have a little bit of killing experience as well, which also ties into the flashback, which is basically where Sun's dad sends Jin to kill the guy who's been sleeping with Jin. Sun does this. He tries to basically give him a second chance, and the dude ends up killing himself. So
sleeping with Jin, huh? No, you
sleeping
finally,
with Sun.
You finally slipped
I knew
up.
I knew it was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen at some point. It was only a matter of when, not him. These names are too similar. But so of course that shows that Jin knows what he's doing with the gun. So they're waiting in ambush. They're waiting and waiting. He tells Sun to go wait on the boat. But of course, the others don't care about that. They want the boat. So what do? They invade the boat. Then Paula Malcolmson tries to talk Sun down, but Sun ends up shooting her and killing her. It's like, oh, the first blood has been drawn, and it's been from our side. But thankfully, Sun is able to get off the boat just in time. Sayid and Jin realize too late that the others have taken the boat. They go, they try shooting at them, but Sun manages to get off the boat and is reunited with Jin in the water. So, yay, happy ending, question mark, except for it's like, oh no.
But they lost the boat.
Not only did they lose the boat, but remember, Paula Malcolmson may or may not have been dating Michael Bowen's character. So knowing that she's dead now, Michael Bowen is not going to be happy about that, to say the least. And since we know that he's got this growing ire with Sawyer, that's
not going to end well.
That's not going to end well for them at all. So then we pretty much end the episode with Jack in the cage talking with Ben. Jack is basically like completely defeated. He's like lost all hope. It's like, who cares? And then
this is probably the best part of the episode.
Yeah, easily. First of all, we finally get Ben's real name. He's like Benjamin Linus. It's like, oh, finally. He's like, I lived on this island my whole life. And he's telling Jack everything that's happened in the real world. And he's like, Jack's like, you're lying. You don't have access to the real world. He's like, you mean to tell me you can go to and from this island willy-nilly? And then Ben's giving him all these different stats in order to try and prove that the real world is real. He's like, what is it? He's like,
he says that Bush got reelected. Christopher Reeve died. And then the Boston
Red Sox won the World Series. And he's like, and Jack's like, I love that's the moment where Jack is like, oh, you're full of shit. You are absolutely full of shit. There's no way that happened. And then he turns on.
You think Jack would have voted for Bush or whether he ran again?
I'm trying to think. That's Bush term 2, so he would have been running against. Oh man, who was the Democrat that he was up against? Because Bush Gore was 2000. So 2004.
I'm Googling it.
Yeah, Google it. Yeah, because I was in 2nd grade. That's going back in my memory banks there.
Where the hell is it? But
some strange
John Kerry.
Oh yeah, John Kerry. That's right. That's the problem, because I remember John Kerry being a bad candidate. I don't know. You know what? Jack seems like an underdog kind of thing. He probably would have voted for John Kerry. But then again, you know what? If I remember correctly, Bush's first term was, who am I kidding? 9/11, war in Iraq. Who am I kidding? Bush Jr. never had a good term. Who am I kidding? Oh, man. That was funny. But yeah, so basically, Ben ends up making him a deal. He's like, look, Jack, if you help me with what I need, then I'll get you home. Then I'll send you home. And he's like, he's like, what do you need help with? He's like, patience, Jack. Patience. And boom, cut to black. More ambiguity. Yay. Oh, man. But that was a good interaction, though. What did you think of that last interaction?
Yeah, I think that was a really kind of heavy moment for Jack, like actually seeing something from the outside world that has happened since he's been on the island. I feel like that's kind of like a Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, seeing the messages from Murph, like, oh, this has happened while you were here, and then it's another affirmation, like, yes, to the audience, like, yes, this is real, this is happening. It's not just purgatory or whatever.
Yeah, because there were a lot of moments in the second half of season 2 where they're like, oh, is this real? Are we sure this isn't purgatory? But this confirms, like, no, this is real. Everything that's on the island is happening. So glad that we were able to get that little moment there. So like I said, not a very long episode, some good action beats, some more action beats forward. But yeah, like I said, next week is the lock episode, so hopefully we'll get some more interesting stuff there. And then after that is the Sawyer episode. And then after that, the 5th episode, which we end the month with. That's where things start to get real with the Echo episode, the cost of living. That's where things really start to heat up. So definitely we'll keep an eye out for that episode, and we'll kind of slog our way through the next week. So stay tuned. In a couple minutes, we're going to be going live with weapons. And in the meantime, stay tuned. We'll be back next week for another episode of Lost. See ya.